In June 2025, Hytale didn't just get delayed again, it died. The most anticipated RPG of a decade, the game meant to redefine the voxel game genre, was taken out the back, and the hype, the community, everything that was built, all gone. Until one man decided to bet everything on Hytale. Simon Hypixel, the original creator, returned with a single ultimatum: no risk, no story. This is the story of how Hytale came back from the dead. Chapter 1. The reasons, the dream, and the hype. Back in 2018, when the Hytale trailer came out, Minecraft had some of its worst years to date. 1.12 was the main version for over a year until Update Aquatic released, and that one was riddled with technical issues. The Hytale trailer was a diamond that we finally found after a long mining session. But the real story of Hytale does not start in 2018, no, it starts in 2015 with the Hypixel Minecraft server. The most popular Minecraft server in the world, built on Minecraft, achieving over 30 million unique users in its lifetime, was going great. Until the 2015 EULA changes. These included new rules for commercial Minecraft servers, which restricted the monetization options down to cosmetics. Hypixel's revenue dropped a staggering 85% overnight. They had to come up with a solution. Building their entire business on the whims of a corporate overlord was like building on sand. Their big shiny monument slowly started to shift on this uneasy foundation. So instead of just having their own building, they would also create a whole new foundation. They would make their own game. Hytale was born out of necessity, with the team not expecting anywhere near this level of reception. After a week, the trailer already racked up over 11 million views, and the blog posts were plenty. They immediately dropped 4 posts talking about the team, dropping a short FAQ, a sneak peek at the UI, and some of Hytale's NPCs, including the adorable Quebecs, the fierce Trorks, and even some of the animal and hostile wildlife. This openness and clear vision was a light for the community, and the hype just kept building and building. But as they say, Chapter 2, the higher they climb. Throughout the first half of 2019, they did almost perfect weekly blog posts, from showing off World Gen and the world of Orbis, through the Hytale Model Maker, explaining technical details about the server technology, which also highlighted their Java expertise and their commitment to modding, all the way to fan art, music, character customization, more wildlife, building with blocks, monster design, and so much more, until May 3rd, 2019. This was the first chip in the armor. The blog post titled Rising Expectations, New Challenges and Next Steps, an update from the Hytale team. This blog post came with some concerning language in my opinion. They were feeling the pressure to deliver something perfect. With this amount of attention comes a huge amount of pressure to get the game right. They also said that Hytale will be ready when it's ready. And we're committed to delivering a game that lives up to your expectations. This was concerning language in my opinion. The weight of expectations truly came barreling down on them. But I believe most of it was self-made. I think they created this scenario for themselves. They needed to deliver a game which wasn't just right, that's ready, no. They needed a game that was perfect. And so, they did not announce a release date for the beta yet. The fans, though, were understanding. While the blog post slowed down a bit to about a monthly cadence compared to the previous weekly one, that was alright. The hype stayed alive. The team posted about custom content and mods, biome changes, and progress of some core systems like farming, new monsters, and generally just posting awesome looking screenshots. Even still now, most of the community was still behind the team's efforts. Yes, fewer blog posts meant less updates, but it also meant more time spent actually developing the game. Even though perfectionism snuck its way into each blog post here and there, with them saying things like, expectations are high and rising all the time, and the level of anxiety on the team has risen alongside them. They did finally announce a playable date, 2021. Even with the possible first date of play being around 2 years in the future, some people were starting to lose interest, but the vast majority, they were still on board. We were checking in every time a semi-regular update posts came out, even sometimes showing off some gameplay. Awesome. COVID hit in 2020, which of course meant some delays. However, in their March progress update, the team was optimistic, stating that because they were a remote team from day one, their work isn't affected as much. So while there was some disruption expected in 2020 due to the pandemic, it wasn't going to be too rough. Well, the major disruption did end up coming in 2020, but not by a pandemic. No, it came by a riot. April 16th, 2020 was the day that Hypixel Studios was sold to Riot Games. In their blog post, they say they will continue to operate as an independent studio. However, Hypixel Studios will have a new board of directors, which will include people from both Hytale Studios and Riot Games. Will this mean the end of the indie game that we've all loved and looked forward to? We've seen this exact issue, which has plagued Minecraft after being sold to Microsoft in 2014. People were tired of the corporate overlords, especially seeing how awesome the indie game mentality could be. Hopefully, this was not the wrong direction. They did reiterate in the blog post though. The playable date would still be 2021, the tech and scope would not change, the same people would be working on the game. The promise was simple enough. Everything remains the same and the game would simply have vastly more funding. Well, if only it was that simple. To be fair, after the Riot acquisition, we were back to monthly blog post updates. These showed off some amazing builds, character customization, the landscape generation, and even an update to the Hypixel Studio offices. There were also many more screenshots as well as videos which sadly today are no longer available. In August 2020, they slowed down their updates a little bit and also said a couple of important things. Over the last few months, we've taken a long hard look at almost every aspect of the game to ensure that it's on track to meet our goals. To me this sounds like corporate speak for we're about to change something big. And they hinted at this again in the last blog post of 2020, basically saying they have overhauled almost every system in the game. Listen, it's not a bad idea to sometimes go back to the drawing board, because if you're too close to a problem, you might miss the forest for the trees, but these were strange decisions in my opinion. This is also where they switched to 2 development updates per year. They also went back on their first playable version. They said this: "To be clear then, we do not currently have a launch plan for Hytale." That was a slap in the face of those who expected a playable beta in 2021. However, even going back on that expectation, they made a promise. "We are going to make a game, and then we're going to tell you how to get hold of it, and then you can play it if you like." Well, maybe they could hold to this promise. With this, surely the next steps would be great, but there were very few steps. A month of 2021 passed. 2, 3, 6 months of complete and utter silence. What was once hailed as a beacon of transparency, community closeness, and grade A communication by an indie developer would now turn into a long wait for any update. And as the updates grew further and further apart, people became less interested. Any hype that was built was fading faster and faster. With less transparency and community interest dying, the hype was already beginning to limp. But with this next update, it was headed to its own funeral. In the middle of 2021, they said that the earliest launch date was 2023, but possibly longer. You might say this was due to mismanagement, poor development, or whatever crazy things might have happened. But I actually think I have an even better explanation for this. Let me bring out my tinfoil hat and my conspiracy board, because this is kind of crazy. They already said in 2020 they are looking at all aspects of the game, and they are willing to redesign them. In summer 2021, they are now also saying, "We see the need to develop Hytale in a way that allows us to bring it to multiple platforms as rapidly as possible. However, this means making major changes to Hytale's engine and our approach to launch, and this extends development time." 2021 might have already been the start of the end, because this last sentence, "major changes to Hytale's engine," that in my opinion was to be the downfall. They continued to talk about reworks until they finally announced the big change in 2022. "We have made the decision to redevelop Hytale's engine, both the client and server, in C++. Oh, no. It truly is the way. The higher they climb. Chapter 3. The harder they fall. Now this single change, for some of you might seem small and insignificant, but I'll give you the technical background knowledge on why this was a horrible decision. Switching from Java and C# to C++ isn't just a nice change in scenery or like changing from first grade math to second grade math. No, this change is monumental, fundamental even. To steal the metaphor I made in my previous Legacy Engine video, writing a novel in Mandarin Chinese will likely get you more potential readers than writing it in French. However, if you neither speak Chinese nor have a dictionary, it's not going to help. And that's how it is going from Java to C++. Now, usually in my opinion, a decision like this is likely made by suits or corporals that just don't know any better. People who are so far away from development that they only see the benefits. As they say in the blog post, "It makes it easier for us to release Hytale across multiple platforms. It also provides performance benefits and will make it easier for us to patch and maintain the game in the future and establish a stronger foundation for the future development of Hytale." Yes, sure, those are all benefits, but change always requires a risk and benefit analysis. So what are the risks? How about throwing away 99% of all of the code that was done in the last 7 years? Of course, they still retain the models and the textures, but everything else in terms of coding has to be redone. Not to mention, Java developers might not be as familiar with C++ as they are with Java, so even their expertise is demonstrably underutilized going forward. And let's not even talk about modability. With C++, this is a completely different level. Yes, of course, one can provide tools for this as well, but do we really expect the same game, runnable on multiple platforms, will receive the same mod support they've been touting for years? Technically, it may be possible, but I doubt it. Just think of PlayStation, Microsoft, or Nintendo allowing huge mod support on their platforms? I really don't think so. So for me personally, this was the day I tuned out. I was no longer interested, and I wasn't angry, I wasn't upset at all. The only thing I felt was apathy. I didn't feel anything about Hytale anymore. While yes, there were some more updates, none of which, or very few of them, actually included new in-game screenshots, by the way. When we get to December 10th, 2024, that is where they posted about launch pads. Like I said, I basically tuned out of the game's updates by summer 2022, so I only checked for any possible release dates at this point, and because none of them came or were just pushed back by every update, I just never really read anything. This includes this technical explainer. But if I had, I probably could have foretold you exactly what was bound to happen in summer 2025. Let's take a look over here. This technical explainer talks about launchpads, and it goes into scarily accurate details about it. Now, when working on a project with a multi-person, multi-department team, things will get way more complicated compared to an agile 1 or 2 person team. And yet, look at this right here. When I saw it properly, it opened my eyes, and this was probably the reason why they switched to the C++ engine. Now here, frames 14 to 17 are all fine and well. To explain, for example, frame 14, this is where they show certain variables which are completely controllable via JSON files. This makes adjusting them super easy. This gives modders and their team powerful tools, but they also give even more powerful tools via script functions. This is shown in frame 13. Now, there is only one small thing which is important. A single word which illuminated everything for me. Lua-U. While Lua is a powerful scripting language which allows you to hook into functionality, allowing for extensions, this is not Lua. This is Lua-U. And there exists only one project which uses Lua-U, where this language originated from. Roblox. I think what happened here was a tragedy. My speculation is that the original vision of Hytale was an awesome game, similar to style in Minecraft, but open, moddable, a way to express yourself, but with its own identity. And once Riot came in, I think they wanted to make Hytale into a new voxel Roblox, damned be its own identity. Instead of a game with an open engine, they wanted to make it an open engine with whatever kind of a game. And this flip was like writing Hytale's name into the Death Note, because we know exactly what comes next. Chapter 4. Hytale is dead. Sure, there were 2 more updates after the technical explainer, and I estimate that this development time puts them at most at parity with the legacy engine. But I think this would be extremely generous. After around 4 years of work in the C++ engine, there's no way they were anywhere near this amount of progress. And mind you, if they had just stuck with the Java and C# engine, they would have been done by now. We would have been playing Hytale already. But instead, they did start some internal playtesting in 2025, but still, there was no date in sight, not even for an alpha. Hytale was a great dream, but sadly, it turned into a nightmare on June 23rd, 2025. A difficult update. Interestingly enough, this blog post cured my apathy, and it ignited rage. I felt mad. Not only because the game was cancelled, gone forever, but also by the blatant mismanagement and the horribly written statement by the CEO. We are ending development on Hytale. Alright then, what are the reasons? The bar kept rising. Our technical ambitions grew more complex, and the team found that Hytale still wasn't as far along as it needed to be. And once again, they keep saying it wasn't ready. It would have meant compromising on what made Hytale special in the first place. It wouldn't have been the game we set out to make, and it wouldn't have been the game you deserve. Every time the decision was made to delay or postpone or alter a timeline, it was because someone decided that the game wasn't perfect yet. That's not how you make anything. I believe somehow they created this perfection culture themselves, or maybe it came from the shock that the original fan reaction was just way more than expected. Who knows in the end? I just don't see anyone being mad at a beta or early access game. Make sure it's not at AAA pricing and tell people up front. No, instead, for some reason, there was a self-created pressure and it just grew, and it always was. It needs to be right. Just perfect. And after the shutdown, the final message was filled with, "We still believe in Hytale." Reading this, my actual honest reaction to my friend Nano were this: what kind of a fucking horse shit is this? What are they proud of? They have nothing to show. 8 years of work down the drain. I was beyond pissed when I read this. They never let anyone play the game. You didn't know if this was the game the community deserved. You never let the community tell you. Once more, my words to my friend were, what a generational fumble, bro. Nothing creative is ever easy, that's very true. And many smarter people have put it in more eloquent ways. But I could just say, imperfect reality is better than imagined perfection. And that's all it was after this. Just imagination. A dream, turned into a nightmare, turned into death. Hytale was dead. Chapter 5. Hashtag Save Hytale. But within this darkness there was a tweet. Hashtag Save Hytale. And then there was another, and another, and many, many, many more, shouting, pleading with anyone who would listen. The most unlikely of heroes would emerge. Simon Hypixel tweeted this. I get it 100%. Look, I am even down to put $25 million by myself to finish Hytale. That's how much I believe in it. Indeed, when the night was darkest and all hope was lost, Simon Hypixel heeded the hashtag Save Hytale calls. The community believed, turning righteous rage into passionate pleads. And finally, Simon tweeted this iconic tweet. No risk, no story. And things were brewing in the background. It was a renaissance of Hytale art. Community members who stopped doing things returned to Twitter, shared their art, everyone assembling, hoping for anything, any sign of hope. By the end of July 2025, Simon tweeted his new philosophy, a complete shift from the game needs to be perfect. No more. Just make it exist first, you can make it good later. Belief. Oh, and did we? We started to believe. The community scoured anything and everything to find clues. Who owns the domains? What is happening on the LinkedIn profiles? Were any companies created? All the while, Simon was as transparent as he could be, just like Hytale was in the very beginning of its development. Yes, some cryptic tweets from Simon were analyzed under the microscope. Was he talking to Riot? Confirmation came on August 12, 2025. All in, locked in. He made an offer, and he was in active discussion with Riot Games. This was unheard of. In any industry, a founder rebuying what they created is basically non-existent. And here it was happening, right in front of our eyes. And finally, after many speculations, thousands upon thousands of tweets, and an incredible story of ascension, betrayal, and ultimate fall, to now, salvation. We did it. Hytale is saved. We have acquired Hytale from Riot Games. This tweet, November 17th, 2025, will go down in history. It was believed that levels of "we are so back" were simply not possible, but here we are. And Simon said it once again. The Hytale Legacy engine is back. We are back home. And it truly felt that way. Within a month after announcing this, the team released several blog posts detailing everything they had in store for us. An early access date was to be announced soon, pricing details and what we could expect at launch. Hytale was 100% owned by them, and they committed 10 years to personally fund the project. And as they said, no investors or publishers. And of course, the decision to switch back to the Legacy engine. As talked about in my Legacy engine video, this was the only right move. This will be the thing that saves Hytale. And this doesn't mean that some of the road won't be wonky and filled with potholes, but at least we are on the right road again. Further blog posts by Slikey, the technical director of Hytale, illuminated what we can expect from Hytale modding, what tools will be available, and how much of Hytale will be moddable. So far, it looks awesome. A deep dive into the suite of creative tools showed us an insanely powerful engine for creating and shaping the world with just a few clicks of a button. What needs several different mods and plugins in Minecraft can be done in Hytale in vanilla. And finally, they announced the price. Hytale will be $19.99. A price so fair, so reasonable. How is this the timeline that we're living in? Instead of corporate greed, we're back to the indie mentality. We are back to the original vision. Just like Simon said, we are back home. For me, I know I will jump into modding and making content for Hytale as soon as it is out. I can see the vision, and any small part I can play in it is incredible to me. Thank you, Simon and the team, and Godspeed to you all for saving Hytale. On to the next 10 years of our journey. And there we have it. I really hope you enjoyed this full history of the development of Hytale and its eventual salvation. For more Hytale videos, be sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitch to catch my live streams. See you in the next video. So, yeah.